Yes, here we go. A very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. Today happens to be the 18th day of February 2020. I'm George Grant saying welcome to another edition of Good Day Grenada. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a pretty good, very quiet morning this morning, and that, by quiet I mean I don't have any guests coming in here this morning. And very briefly, let me explain to you why. You know that on Tuesday mornings, we usually have Ray Roberts in here. Well, unfortunately, Ray has another Tuesday morning, so he's not going to be able to make it. So I called my good friend who substituted for him last week, and she agreed to come. Yeah, she agreed to be with us this morning. And then I discovered that I had something which I thought you might want to see. It's a discussion with a Grenadian student, one of the students who had been quarantined after returning from China. The GIS did an interview with them, I think it was on Saturday, and they finally released that yesterday. So I thought, hey, let me call Sharon and apologize for getting her to agree to come in here, and whether she would mind if I just ran this instead. So, she is not going to be in here to fill in for Ray this morning. We're going to run that interview by the GIS. And tomorrow morning, Ray, because he is not here with us today, will be in here tomorrow. Just let me clear this off. Yeah, okay. Now, let's take a look at the rundown and see what we're going to do over the next 58 minutes or so. Mom and Dad, please caution your kids about the jump challenge, boy. This is the latest buzz on social media. There's a new game which the kids have been getting into and causing a lot of problems. And let me tell you, if they keep this up, it's only a matter of time before you hear about a death resulting from what's being called the jump challenge. Well, it's caught the attention of the authorities here in Grenada, and they have put out a statement which I'm going to share with you. I'm also going to show you a very short video about what this jump challenge is about. It's ridiculous, ridiculous. Then we're going to have some fun with a performance from some young African kids, the Masaka Kids Africana group. Yaman. These kids are cute. A few weeks, maybe a couple of months ago, I did play a piece from these kids, and you enjoyed it. So I thought this new one that I've just come across, let me share that with you as well. Then today we have another edition of Black Makers of History, starring Lady Mags. And today she takes a look at Nobel laureate and economist, Sir Arthur Lewis. So that's coming your way. And guess what? We're not going to run the national report today. Instead, I'm going to replace that with this discussion which Leslie Ann Johnson of the GIS had with the student who returned and was quarantined, and also the acting chief medical officer, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Francis Martin. Very interesting interview, very interesting interview. Some things you might learn, some things you might learn. So, we're going to wrap it up this morning with probably one of the shortest videos I have ever shown on this program. This video is only about 7 seconds long, so it all happens very, very quickly. I might even play it twice, you never know. But anyhow, it's going to put a smile on your face. It's about why it's important to protect the family jewels, if you know what I mean. Anyhow, let's get down to business here this morning. Kids will be kids, but sometimes they just go too far. The Ministry of Health here in Grenada is on to the latest craze internationally and around the region. And yesterday, they were so concerned about this, they actually issued a statement. And I'm going to quote this for you right now. Mom and Dad, if you're listening, please, 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 sit your kids down and talk to them about this. It may look like fun, but it's not. I quote, "The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, Religious Affairs," there we go again. I mean, why do we have to give all of these portfolios? Anyhow, they have learned of a new and dangerous game, which is named the Jump Challenge. It is becoming popular among high school students, both internationally and regionally. In the Jump Challenge, 3 people stand in a horizontal line. One, middle, right. No. Left, middle, right. Okay? And then they're going to jump to touch the ceiling or simply just jump altogether. However, the 2 people on the outside both use the leg closest to the person in the middle. You're going to see this in just a wee bit. To trip that person during the jump. The person then falls to the ground. Presently, there are several videos of this game circulating on the internet. Friends, the game is very dangerous because the person who falls can sustain many types of injuries, including broken bones, head injuries, and spinal injuries, among other things. Injuries can be serious enough to result in death based on the nature of the fall that person sustains. The ministry is alerting the general public, particularly parents, to be aware of the serious nature of this game and the resulting harm that can befall their children or relatives if they participate in the Jump Challenge. Okay? Now, while they're encouraging kids to be physically active and to socialize, what's going on here this morning? Leave me alone. The Jump Challenge does not constitute a constructive social activity. Head and spinal injuries sometimes take months, if not years, to heal, while some people become and remain paralyzed. Health is critical to one's quality of life. No one wants to spend their youth and beyond incapacitated. But the Jump Challenge can result in undesirable outcomes. The ministry, therefore, seeks the cooperation of the public in making others aware of this very dangerous game and remains hopeful that our young people, our students, will exercise good judgment and refrain from playing this game, the Jump Challenge. My dear friends, as the release mentioned here, there are a lot of videos circulating on the internet. I only grabbed one to share with you this morning. Take a look.
The tripping jump challenge is going viral on social media platforms like TikTok and is bloody dangerous. Look at how these stupid kids are doing it.
1, 2, 3.
This is very dangerous. The victim's head often hits the floor, and that can cause anything from a concussion to a skull fracture, a hematoma, a subarachnoid hemorrhage, or a diffuse axonal injury that can lead to permanent brain damage or even death.
1, 2, 3.
As you can see, some of them were not unconscious by this trick. Anyone who does this to you is not a friend. Dump these assholes. They are not your friends.
See what I mean, folks? That ain't no fun. Well, for these kids, I imagine it's fun. Excuse me, but it's a very serious issue here. Please, don't try that. Don't try that. Don't try that. Please, please, please. Let me make a quick hop over here to social media and see who we ought to be saying good morning to. Well, she's first this morning. Margaret. And Margaret says, protect the protect the family jewels. Yeah, says Margaret. Oh, yeah. Grenada Sunshine is saying good morning. Claude Putna is saying good morning. Good to see you guys. I'm Theorello. How are you? John Franco, Ryan DeBon, Arthur Langine. Arthur Langine says, it's so nice to be able to have you back. Where was I, Arthur? I've been here. Good to see you anyway, buddy. Kipling Francis saying howdy to you guys, and Ryan DeBon saying good morning. John Nosyneck. Well, John, boy, are we glad to see John this morning. John has been having all kinds of hassles with his internet out there in Carriacou, so you may have noticed that for the past few days we have not seen him. But I did phone him, and he was okay. He explained what the issue was. Let's see, Bradley Vesper is saying good morning, Bradley, and so is Sharon. Good to see you, folks. Anthony Howard is there as well. Good morning, Mr. Howard. How is New Jersey? Ryan says, that's no kid's game, more like a self-harming gesture. It is not hopscotch. Remember that? I used to play hopscotch. James Robert McLean is there saying good morning as well this morning. Sharon says, it reminds me of the foolishness of someone removing the chair as you're about to sit. I know people who got their backs broken from this crap. Yeah, Sharon, it ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. And I really hope that that craze doesn't catch on here. By the way, just see that Bernard Gilbert has so chimed in. Now. Mags, get ready to dance a little bit, girl. Yeah. The Masaka Kids Africana, that's an African group, youngsters, is composed of African children starting at age 2 up, okay? Many of these youngsters have lost either one or both parents through the devastation of war, famine, and disease. They represent all the children of a continent, and they demonstrate the potential of African children to become strong leaders for a better future for their land. These kids melt the hearts of audiences around the world. with their charming smiles and delightful African tunes, accompanied by vibrant dance moves. Nearly every performance is concluded with a thunderous standing ovation. In spite of the tragedy that has marred their young lives, these children are radiant with hope, musically gifted, and wonderfully entertaining. Folks, as you watch this, enjoy the choreography. Check this out.
Everything is okay. I'm glad that my friend is okay. Might seem be crazy what I'm about to say. Send you zangu, misana na chiru. Nebe wogereyo, eti binkwatako. I don't care. Era mubangaze, ojane twetala. Dance along. Serep, serep, serep. Zinam serep. Serep, 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 zinam serep, serep, serep. Yo, everybody sing along. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yo, sabula bekeli bebe. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. No matter what them say. Oh yeah, zema oh yeah. Yasolanda valo. Voila. Life is short. Cut enjoy. Okay? Enjoy. Started from the bottom. Now we're here. God, no.
That was so creative, eh? So creative. Don't you just love him? Man, oh man, oh man. I'm sure there are going to be some comments about that. Hang on a sec here. Ryan says, it's a mood lifter. Wiggle your posterior, buddy. You know, these kids, they wiggle. They're just very creative. They didn't have to be vulgar, like, you know, Carnival here. No, 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 no. They were just absolutely creative. Kipling Francis says, every time I'm feeling a bit down, I turn to these kids to brighten up things. So entertaining. Whether you love music or don't, you must enjoy looking at them, man. Kipling, I sat here bopping, you know, while that was being played. Ryan says, dance is very therapeutic for these cute African kids who suffer post-traumatic disorder as a result of war. I was giggling in my recliner chair with them. More, please. I'm sure we're going to be seeing more of them in the weeks to come. Anthony Howard said, love these kids, but hate the hair weave. Anthony. Okay. John Nosinek says, watching these kids made my knees ache. I don't think I was ever that flexible. John, every time you get up out of your chair, I sit here in Grenada and hear your bones creaking. Take that. And then just going back a little bit here to the piece we played a little while ago about this jump challenge. Anthony said, government needs to put out the word that anyone caught doing this crap will serve mandatory jail time. We'll see. Colleen Vesprey says, good morning, George. Good to see you, folks. Okay, finally, folks, on today's, yes, cue that up, on today's edition of Black Makers of History, Margaret pays tribute to someone who has become a household name throughout the region. I'm talking about St. Lucian, Nobel laureate, and economist, Sir Arthur Lewis. Here we go.
Celebrating Black Makers of History.
Today's Black Maker of History is Sir Arthur Lewis. Sir Arthur Lewis was a renowned St. Lucian economist in the field of development economics. In 1979, he won the Nobel Prize for Economics, becoming the first Black person to do so. The prize was awarded for his pioneering work on economic development research, with particular consideration of the problems of developing countries. A gifted student, he won a scholarship at the age of 18 to the London School of Economics, where he graduated with a first-class degree. He dreamed of being an engineer, but changed to economics because colonial governments and white companies refused to hire Black engineers. Sir Arthur was a scholar who served as economic advisor to international organizations and governments in Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. He was the first Black professor in Britain's university system and also at Princeton University in the United States. He also served as Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. In 1970, Sir Lewis helped establish the Caribbean Development Bank and became its first president. Remembering Sir Arthur Lewis, pioneer in the field of development economics.
See the things you learn here, my dear friends, on Gudday Grenada. Thanks, Mags. And by the way, I understand she's working on a ton more. Lady is finding the time to help educate us as a people, opening our eyes. Well, my dear friends, that's going to take care of our opening salvo. let's take a little break now, and we're going to come back with that interview with the student who was recently released. I think it was on Saturday. This youngster was released from quarantine here in Grenada. It's about a half-hour interview, and as I mentioned this morning, we're going to forego the national report so that we can bring that to you. Okay? All right, so let's take a break.
Conveniently located in the Grenadian Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadians will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, it's now 9:30 on the button. 9:30 on the button. Let's take a quick look at a couple more comments here. Enid's joined us. Good morning, Enid. Michael Gilligan. Clive Devers, hello. Where are you this morning, Clive? Ajax or romping somewhere over North America? Good to see you, fella. Arthur Langine says, very good information about Sir Arthur Lewis. Ain't that the truth, Arthur? She's doing a terrific job, and she's still got some more up her sleeve, so hang in there. And going back a little further, Sharon Roberts loved those kids. She's saying, awesome. Sharon, when you come in next week, could you put on a couple of those moves? We'll turn the cameras on you so that, the folks can see those incredible moves. All right, folks. Now, that interview with a student who was just released from quarantine, trying to protect the nation against the coronavirus.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Government Information Service. My name is Leslie Ann Johnson, and today we have a very informative session for you. I have with me to my immediate left Mr. Wesley McKee. He is studying in China. He's actually the first Grenadian who was quarantined, and he's here with us today. So of course we'll talk about his experience. And to his left is Dr. Francis Martin, the Acting Chief Medical Officer. As I mentioned, it's a very informative session, and we'll seek to get a lot out of this, just so that people can understand. Even though he was quarantined, he's okay, because we want everybody to understand that there are certain procedures that must be followed, but people must not be shunned because, of course, as you can see, he's well and alive here with us today. It's good to have you both.
Thank you.
Great. So I'll start with you, Mr. McKee. So as I mentioned, you're the first person who was quarantined. You're studying in China. So tell us a bit about yourself, what you're doing, how long you're there for, so we can understand exactly who you are.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Carriacou, and I went to China to study civil engineering. I've been there so far for 3 years, and the lifestyle is a bit hard to get accustomed to, but it's okay now. But other than that, it's all good.
Good. So how long are you going to be studying for? You've been there for 3 years.
The study period is supposed to be 5 years.
5 years. How is it going for you? I mean, I know you mentioned it's kind of, different to Grenada, but the whole cultural aspect and all of that.
Oh, the cultural aspect, at first it kind of hits you hard, but once you relax and choose your own path, you'll get accustomed to it easily. I think the weather is the part that would get to most people from our area. But yeah, when I just started out, I think the language barrier was the main difference. And then when I just started doing my major studies, noticing that even though I studied the language for 1 year, it was still not enough. So that's something that most people should think about.
Right.
Be very diligent with the language. You'll need it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Dr. Martin, when did you first meet this young man here?
I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Maki on the day, on the night he returned from China. That was my first experience with him, and immediately seeing him and interacting with him, his kind of character, the way he carried himself, he seemed like a very responsible young man. He was not flustered at all in any way at all. He was really easy to work with, really easy to understand what was going on. And obviously, to be honest, I think Wesley made my job much easier than the public made it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, the public can be quite critical, and I expect that to happen because that's what we're there for. I usually use public impression to measure myself and to look at myself in the mirror. So I was really grateful for that opportunity. But like I say, Wesley being the kind of guy he is, I had absolutely no problems with him at all, and I wish every patient would be like me.
Great. Yeah, well, I mean, the public, they would have their fears and concerns, which we understand. So, of course, we have to try to allay their fears. You want to add something there?
Well, in that regard, I think some people, they're blowing things a bit out of proportion with too little of understanding in regard to how the situation really is. They're not understanding how to deal with the people who may have been in contact with someone who has this virus, and the way that they treat people because of it is becoming critical, and it's making things bad for themselves, not particularly for the person who may or may not be infected. And in most cases, it is most likely not to be infected, because just in order to get back to Grenada, I have been through so much checks, so many screens. I feel like a lab rat.
But it was for your own good, right?
Of course, of course. And I understand the difficulty of having to deal with someone who may or may not have been in contact with a deadly virus. And I understand where everyone is coming from, where when people know that I've come from China, the area where this whole thing originated, they take steps back away from me. And I'm not offended, but I just feel like maybe the person should relax a little bit because they're scaring themselves. I understand why they would step back, but at the same time, they should relax a little and try to understand the situation better before assuming too much.
Right.
It's good to be safe, but not scared.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
Right. So I know some people would still panic. So what were your, when you first heard about this? What were your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns in the initial stages? What sort of conversations were you having with your peers? And then when you made contact with your family back home, what was that like at that particular time when we just started hearing about the coronavirus?
Okay, so for me personally, with the people that I was staying with in China, my apartment mates, the first and main concern that I think all of us had was food.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm a big eater, so I was really concerned because all of the shops started closing down, the streets became empty, so I was like, where am I going to get my food from? But
so this is the first thing that
yeah, that's the first thing that, I'm serious, that's the first thing that ran through my mind. But after that, other concerns started rising when the amount of infected, the death toll started rising, the suspected infected, and people only started coming up with cures afterwards. Well, cures.
Yeah.
And it started to dawn upon us that this is actually something that's really serious.
Yeah.
So some of the people I was staying with, they started getting scared. You know, it's that thing where you're trying to speak to them about it. Just calm down, let's think about it. Try to understand it before freaking out. And then when I spoke to my family, they were already freaking out. Because, you know, the like zombie apocalypse over there, I don't want you to get bitten by a zombie and turn into one. So.
Wow. So, well, this is interesting. So then you decided, of course, to come back. You thought that might be the best thing to do. So what was the process now going through that? Because at first you were being told that you should stay put, stay calm and all that, but you decided to come back. So what was going through your head at that time that made you decide, okay, yeah, this might be the best thing to do at this point still, just to take a chance. I might be passing through people on the airport, millions of people, but I think I want to take this chance because I want to come back home.
Okay, my initial thoughts about that was, if I stay in my apartment and just relax there, I'll never know whether or not I'm infected. And the chances of me getting infected will only increase because I'm staying in the area where more people are becoming infected day by day. Every day was a 20% increase until it became a 30% increase. And in my head, things are only getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And because I know that in every intersection, as a matter of fact, just to leave our apartment, we had to be checked. To the point where in China, for people who are diagnosed and they know they're infected, they've been locking them in their apartments. They're not allowed to leave. So I wanted to know whether or not I was infected as well, and also to help my family to relax, to help myself to relax, because even though I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt, I still want to calm down.
Yeah.
So I think this was the best decision, because it helps everybody to understand that there's nothing to fear, because policies have been put in place in different countries to make sure that once you're traveling through, you have to be safe.
Right.
And if you are infected, there's almost certainly no way that you could get through. Any signs that you are, as a matter of fact, in Hong Kong, they would arrest anyone that was coming from mainland China, and they didn't say that they were. Just for not announcing that you came from the mainland, they would put you in prison.
So you went through all the stringent procedures before you got here?
Of course.
And then when you got here?
And then when I got here, I went straight into quarantine.
because of course that's a safe thing to do.
Of course,
Right.
of course.
Dr. Martin, do you think that now at this stage, people are understanding the importance of the quarantine measures? Do you think people have calmed down? Because in the beginning, we were seeing a lot of stuff on social media. People were, well, of course, understandably upset and concerned and all that. But no, do you think they're at a stage where some of the work that you're doing, it is paying off now?
I can definitely say that the work that we're doing is paying off well, because I'm hearing on the ground, I visit different places and you get the mood of people. And I am really happy to say that now we're in a good place. We're not in the best place yet because there's still some work to be done. But I believe people on the whole understand the need for quarantine, and I think they're comfortable with the idea of having the quarantine. And more importantly, as we have been sharing a lot of the information out there, the correct information, our PRO at the ministry and all the team at the ministry, what we're doing, I am getting sometimes direct comments from people that things are okay and we're getting to the point where we really want to be. So I think that the plan is actually working.
Right. So you, of course, in close working relationship right now with the Grenada Airports Authority and all the relevant players. What are some of the measures, again, although you belong to the Ministry of Health, but that are in place at the airport just to ensure once people come in that, if there's, a suspected case, they're separated from everybody else and the person there is not let out into the population immediately.
Right. So indeed, we are in very close collaboration with the Airports Authority because we really cannot do this without the ports and the cooperation with the ports. Our plans at the airport starts long before the traveler arrive in Grenada. Once we become aware that someone is traveling through the mechanism that we have, the advanced passenger list, we identify risky persons even from them. So in this case, we knew that he was coming, we know where he was sitting in the aircraft, we know which aircraft he was coming with, so you start planning for that. As soon as the aircraft lands, our port health officer would go onto the aircraft and get the aircraft declaration of health, which would list the passengers and list the conditions that they were in. And once the port health officer is satisfied that the passengers are well enough, they are disembarked. And a decision will be made whether to disembark our traveler of interest, as we call them,
right.
Either first or last, depending on where they're sitting. When they come off the plane, they get to go through a different line and not the line of the normal passengers. We put them, there's a different place that we put them so that the nurse can triage them and the nurse can check their temperatures to make sure that they doesn't have a fever. So even their immigration, the immigration process happens differently as well. The immigration officer, their passport is would be dealt with differently. Their luggage is dealt with differently. And after that triage area and after the temperature is taken, then they're taken to isolation, which is on the airport itself. And they will stay in isolation there until we arrange for their quarantine location, and then we take them to the quarantine location. That is how the process goes for someone of interest that we may be exposed. For the rest of the travelers, they go through the normal immigration. There we have 2 cameras that are installed that checks their temperatures. And the camera has a monitor inside of the nursing station. It actually looks at each person as they're coming through. It measures the temperature, and once there is someone with a high temperature, the system flags that person and an alarm goes off.
Yeah.
So we know we're like a catch one.
Right.
And of course, it knows to go get that person and of course get them into triage and also into quarantine if needs be. I am quite happy to say so far we have not been able to identify anyone from the regular passenger list that have had a fever. People have been doing well. Right. The 4 persons that we have in quarantine are persons that we have identified even before they landed here, and as they landed, we took them into quarantine.
Right. So coming back to you, what was the process like when you got here and then you were placed in quarantine? Was that when you were told, okay, you'll have to be quarantined? Was it something you were like, oh do I have to go through this? Or you realized that this is for my own good and for the good of the nation, just to ensure, because you did say before you left China you wanted to ensure that you were not infected. So did you think that this was a good thing for you, and what was the whole treatment like, everything while you were in quarantine?
Actually, before I left China, one of my main thoughts was, I hope that Grenada is already on board.
Oh yeah.
that was one of my main thoughts. Hoping that I was looking forward actually to being quarantined, because it's something that I expected to happen. In my head, it's something that was necessary in order to make sure that I am not a threat to the society where I come from. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be the person that brings the plague up in here. So, that was already on my mind from the beginning. And through the process, as the people who know that I was the first one have been calling me Patient Zero. I was kind of the person who was used to start the process, so it was a little bit of here and there, but we got to comfortable understanding pretty quickly. So I was kind of happy with the results.
Right. So, but you were able to be in contact with family members?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
WhatsApp, phone, whatever is the case, you just would not have been able to see them face to face, because of course that's the purpose of quarantine.
Like, another part of the reason why I was so eager to come back was because I haven't visited since I left. So I've been away for 3 years. I'm basically a foreigner right now.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Everyone says that you've become white, you know, because of the cold.
Okay.
You don't know our money is plastic now, and I'm just like, okay.
You need to
get
up to speed.
Yeah. So it was good to be able to keep into contact with everyone, my family members and friends. When I got back, I was treated very well, even though I was in quarantine.
So you're satisfied that all procedures were carried out just to ensure, again, once you're released, it is because you're safe to go out. So what would you say to people, because we know a lot of things are, being said on social media. What would you say to people now that you've had this experience? If you were to write something on social media to help people to understand the benefits of the quarantine process and the reason why you were happy that Grenada was on board as you were hoping before you got here, what are some of the key points, at least two or three key points that you would make to them so that they would understand, okay, what I'm saying here, or my opinion is not necessarily true, so maybe I should listen to you.
Okay. Quarantine is definitely necessary. There's no question about it. There's nowhere to build up to that. It's just a point to be made. It is definitely necessary. Even though the person may not be infected, they come from a place where there's the possibility. So quarantine is definitely a necessity. So that has to happen for safety purposes. It's a procedure that is necessary. I'm gonna put that out there. Use that word again, necessary. Alright, that's the first point. And the second point, when it comes to the way to deal with this, my best advice: don't freak out. Don't freak out.
Just
calm down. Think about the situation. Like, do your research. If you're so scared of something, then you should know about it. You shouldn't let something scare you without looking into it to understand why you're scared in the first place. So you should understand the situation before losing your mind or treating someone like an exile, because if you see or meet anyone whom has been to China in Grenada, they have definitely already gone through quarantine to ensure that they're safe. So you shouldn't be backing away from them, because the time period has already gone. The tests have been made. They've been checked to ensure that you and they themselves are safe.
Dr. Martin, what is the state of mind right now of we have 3 others in quarantine right now? So what is the level of interaction? What is the state of mind? And I'm sure, of course, the process is similar to...
Yes, I am glad you asked about the state of mind, because at one of our meetings this week, knowing that Wesley was about to be released from quarantine, some of the staff members were really concerned about his state of mind and psychologically how he was feeling.
Well, man.
And I said, thanks for telling me that, because I don't think I thought about that early, the state of mind. I was just thinking of, my responsibility is just to keep the country safe. But I was able to tell them, from interacting with Wesley, I said to him, that guy is just the coolest guy ever. This thing is not bothering him. So for him, I don't think he's going to need psychological support. But they still say, man, you should still have a psychologist on board. And I took that advice because it is actually true that some people may need to have that psychological support.
You're willing to try it?
So my interaction with them and their kind of state of mind, the others are just the same. The people are understanding, they know what needs to be done. I am in contact with them every day. And just like Wesley, I think we were blessed that the people that have returned are of the state of mind where they expect this, they understand what is going on, and it's not affecting them psychologically. But still, I took the advice that we need to have a psychologist on board just in case something like that happens. So they have really made my job easy.
Great. So what are you planning to, how long are you planning to stay here for? Because we know this coronavirus is still in the air. And are you in contact with your friends back home, back in China? What are they saying? Yes, your second home. But what are they saying? Of course they must be concerned.
Actually, I've been, how to put it? I don't think I will be going back, actually.
You don't want to go back?
It's not exactly a want, but it's what can be done.
Mhm.
And I'm not uprooted from a very well-off family, so it's a bit of a difficult situation to deal with. So there's the upside and the downside of the situation, obviously. And I left another life behind when I left there, because I have been there for 3 years. I've basically made a new life. Made friends that were like brothers and sisters to me, and I was living with people that I trust with my life. So it's a bit of a hard situation to grasp for me as well. But in the end, I feel like it was the best decision. And even though it's a bit difficult to deal with, I'm comfortable with the idea that I chose what I did.
Okay. So, Dr. Martin, recently you were post-cabinet press briefing and yourself and the Honorable Minister were spelling out some of the recommendations and suggestions from CARFA. So, of course, we're just ensuring that we follow all these rules to make sure that Grenada, as much as is humanly possible, keeps the coronavirus out of its borders. The airport, seaport, where have you?
Yes, we are in constant collaboration with CARFA and PAHO, who are our leading public health agencies for us here. And the recommendations that we put in place are recommendations that are standard for our region. So for example, the recommendation is that at the ports of entry, there is absolutely no need right now to wear PPEs or personal protective equipment, and that once someone doesn't have any symptoms, wearing the mask and using a glove is sufficient. Using alcohol-based hand sanitizer, making sure that the alcohol content in it is more than 75% alcohol, and I've seen some of the hand sanitizers here that doesn't have, it's about 62%, and we encourage people to add some spirits with it, or add some rum or something like that with it. Just
wash it down with alcohol.
Yeah, the alcohol is gonna work. So those are the recommendations. We now are able to test for the virus in CARFA. So for the OECS, for example, we're going to be testing in CARFA. We have the nasopharyngeal swabs that we use to test. So our response would be standardized and will be based on the threats that we have. Although the coronavirus, the alert and the danger is very high in China and some other part of the world, after CARFA looks at everything, they have graded our risk as low. They have still graded our risk as low because the virus is not circulating in the region yet. The last two cases that we have actually was the last two cases in the region, Jamaica and St. Lucia, both turned out to be negative. So we're still doing very well, and we're following the recommendations of our lead public health agencies.
Right. So he's here with us. He's good. Thank God. And we have about 3 other people in quarantine, and we hope that they're okay. But in the event that somebody should come back in the future and this person tests positive, how are we going to deal with that situation?
We deal with it based on the information that we have. If we have prior information that that person tests positive, then the processes would change at the port of entry. The way we take them off the plane, what we do with them, We're going to take them in a different line, as we said, manage their luggage, manage their immigration purposes, triage them, put them in isolation at the airport itself. And then we will not put them into quarantine. That person will be transferred to the isolation unit at the general hospital. And there they will be treated. At that treatment site, the healthcare providers will wear full PPEs, just like you see in China and other places. And we do have those PPEs on island. Of course, the symptoms will be managed until they're well enough to go home. And that's really how we're going to do with it. It's maybe an opportunity also to indicate something that people normally don't think about in new viruses. When new viruses like this occur, the public health standard is to deal with it differently. And that is, if someone succumbs to the virus, perchance someone dies from the virus, generally the body is cremated. It's not buried.
Right.
So persons need to understand that that is also something that hopefully we never have to discuss, but it's just good to throw it out there and know that this is what will happen if someone unfortunately comes down with the virus.
Right. So the procedure, as you mentioned, would be a bit different, of course. But also, I remember you mentioning that influenza is even more deadly.
Yes.
But because coronavirus is the trending topic right now, that's what people are focusing on.
Yeah.
But is it a case where people are understanding that, while coronavirus is, the focus, are they understanding that there are other situations that they should be wary of as well?
Yeah. When I started to speak about that context, some persons weren't happy with me making that statement at all because they just wanted corona to be whatever, the big bad, how you call it? Apocalypse or something like that?
Yeah.
The apocalypse. Zombie apocalypse, yeah. And even back then, in my first appearance, I started saying, listen guys, we know corona is new, and because it is new, it is catching the world attention. But let's put this thing in context.
Yeah.
The influenza is still around, and much more persons are dying from the influenza than corona. So, and that is still the concern, that we must not turn our eyes away from the more deadlier ones in Grenada, which is influenza, which H1N1 is in Trinidad. It's possible that it's here. Dengue fever is still around.
Yeah.
And yellow fever is around the corner, lurking around the corner, because we need to look at these issues as well. So while I understand the emotional issues surrounding corona, as a public health practitioner and as a public health expert, I have to take the bigger picture into consideration.
Right.
And we have much more of a risk here for H1N1, dengue, and Zika and chikungunya and so on, rather than the corona at this point.
And for the coronavirus again, we know every time we listen to the news or we go on the internet, you're seeing that the death toll is rising.
Right.
But is it a certain, is people who are more exposed, whose immune system may have been compromised, that are more susceptible to this?
Excellent. And in addition to this point, we must understand that what is happening in China is groundbreaking. This is the first time that a new outbreak has happened and is being contained so much in one location. In fact, the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, the Director General, indicated that what China has done is a best practice for some countries, and maybe some countries need to adopt what they've done to make sure they contain this. At the moment, 99% of the infections are still in China, and 99.9% of the deaths are still in China. So something is happening out there, and I hope that it remains that way for the rest of the world, that we do not have as much infection as what's happening in China. So yes, I mean those are the considerations that we need to take, to look at.
Right. So how do you feel right now? You're here talking to us. What's your state of mind right now? What would you like to do now that this chapter of your life is over? This is something you'll always remember. I guess when you have your children, you could tell them you were the first quarantined person from China, so you kind of made your own little history there when you came from the zombie apocalypse, as you called it. How do you feel right now? What are some of the things you want to do immediately now that you have this sort of sense of freedom?
Food.
Food again?
Yeah, while I was in quarantine, actually, I asked him to bring me hurricane ice cream.
Hurricane ice cream?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Oh, you love your belly, man.
Yeah.
I like your spirit. Be honest.
That's what I want.
You like food.
Food is life, honestly. But another thing I'd like to touch on is what you guys were talking about with the breakouts in different viruses. in China from Wuhan as well. Not only was the coronavirus news spreading, but the bird flu started out soon afterwards.
Wow.
So in the same location, you had something else popping out there, and I just like to get that out for everyone to know as well. Yes, China is trying really hard to get this under wraps, but it's not easy to do so, especially because new cases of difficult to deal with situations are popping up. And although China is like, even where it's originated, is one of the world's most renowned research facilities. So if that's the case and it spreads so much from there, you know, it just emphasizes how much we need to be cautious about everything that we do, not only when we go out or when we go to special events or in gatherings and stuff like that, but in everyday life, just interacting with other people. People need to stop taking sanitary measures for granted.
Yeah.
And keep this stuff in mind.
Yeah.
Something else that is kind of on my head when it comes to the coronavirus itself, when it comes to its spreading and stuff like that, like the way that it spreads, if there is anyone infected on a plane, my thoughts would be to quarantine the plane. Because if that person breathes in the plane, could be half of the plane is already infected.
Okay. It's a serious thing. Yeah, do you want to add something?
Yes, he's correct. There are recommendations for quarantine, mass quarantine, if there needs be. Once the case definition is made and the risk is assessed and the plane is assessed, there are recommendations given by CAFA, which we are going to follow, and we have something in place for that as well. Leslie, I want to take the opportunity to say special thank you to Wesley's family for cooperating with us in this matter.
Yeah.
I don't know, he probably has a very special family because he was the first, very cooperative. His brothers and everybody else who made our jobs nice and easy. We really do appreciate it very, very much. So special thank you to his family, especially his brother who is here with us. Well, he's not here right now, but I mean, in Grenada.
Right, okay. All right, so we're running out of time. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Since you already have the mic, you can start.
Yeah, I want to end by saying to persons, the best way to avoid coronavirus is to do the very simple, basic things that your grandmother and mother have already taught you. It's very simple. Just wash your hands. Keep yourself. Pay attention to your hygienic needs.
Yeah.
It is so interesting that for most public health risks that we have out there, it has to do with cleanliness. It's interesting. Basic cleanliness, either cleanliness for yourself or cleanliness to your environment. Zika, chikungunya, dengue is cleanliness in your environment.
Yep.
The coronavirus, the flu, the influenza is cleanliness to yourself. Wash your hands often. If you cough or you sneeze, do cough etiquette. Cough in your elbow, sneeze in your elbow. So that's really the basic thing. Just take care of yourself. And lastly, eat lots of bright colored foods, because those are the foods that helps your immune system to function well. I brought oil of Wesley. Right, so the yellow, green, orange, red, those are the foods that you should eat a lot of. Your oil look colorful too. It's not colorful foods, It's colored.
He just loves his stomach.
So that's what you do to keep your immune system up and running to prevent you from getting the coronavirus.
Definitely. Wesley, any final? We got the point about food.
Okay.
We know you love food.
Okay. I just want to put out one concern that I've had since I've gotten back, and I've seen the difference happening here in the way that locals are treating the Chinese population that's here. And most of the Chinese people that are here have been here for a while. Yes, there's a lot of people who are concerned about the issue that had happened with the plane that came in with the Chinese individuals. But aside from that, there are many different Chinese people on this island right now, and they have been here for way longer than the coronavirus has even started. So I'd appreciate it if everyone treated them as just another part of our society instead of treating them like if they have a virus.
All right, so thank you so very much, gentlemen. We've been speaking with Mr. Wesley McKee. He's to my immediate left, a student. He's been studying in China and, of course, talking to us about his experience while being in quarantine here. And, of course, to his immediate left, Dr. Francis Martin, the Acting Chief Medical Officer. And I'm sure we got a lot of information out of this interview. And as was mentioned, let's just treat everybody with respect, irrespective of what we may feel right now. Treat everybody with respect. And, of course, just pay attention to our personal hygiene. Thank you so much for viewing. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it. There you have it. But we're not through. We're not through. We've dealt with some very serious stuff this morning. We talked about the jumping challenge, which is a major issue and which obviously attracted your attention earlier on in the program. We talked about Sir Arthur Lewis. It's important that we remember our heroes, and he was certainly one of them. We talked about the coronavirus, hey? All serious stuff this morning. However, we're going to wrap it up. It is my intention that I leave you with a smile on your face. A smile. As I mentioned, it's probably the shortest video we've ever shown or seen on this program. And you're going to have a smile. But first, this break.
Inspection and licensing have begun, and at Hubbard's, we want you to be ready. From January to February 15th, we're offering vehicle owners with single registration letters 1 to 2,500 and plural registration letters 1 to 250, 10% off our new torque tires and Power Max batteries. Don't get caught unprepared. Visit us today at our motor department in Mungay or our tire bay in Grandance, located near Hubbard's Building Supplies.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Grenada, 1795. One man with a sense of destiny.
Tonight we stand our ground. Tonight we stand on the side of history.
14,000 slaves with a dream and a promise. Julian Fedor, a Heritage Theatre production, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, 28th and 29th March, 4th and 5th April at the Trade Center.
People was not made to live like this. It's like we have a cause.
Julian Fedor, an action-packed historical drama.
I see blood falling from the sky, filling up that mountain river, flowing from Belvedere Hills. I see blood.
4 big nights of theater, the play the nation has been waiting to see, with Samuel Gilvey, Lisa Grappy-James, Robert White, Dale Devine, and other top-of-the-line acting talents. Opening Saturday, 28th March. Get your tickets now.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Alrighty, folks, 10 minutes after 10 o'clock. Yeah, we've gone over time again. Just can't help it. Just can't help it. I'm going to introduce. And this next little piece by simply saying very few words. Starting at an early age, it is important to learn to protect the family jewels. I urge you to watch this piece very carefully, since this file is only about 7 seconds long, okay? I may even have to repeat it. Watch this.
Huh?
You missed it, right? You missed it. Watch again.
Huh?
Twice is enough. All right, my dear friends, on that note, Georgie Porgy is going to say thank you very much for watching this edition of Good Day Grenada. The Tuesday edition without Mr. Ray Roberts, unfortunately, but Ray will be in here with us tomorrow morning. I do wish you a wonderful day, and as always, I send you God's richest blessings by His grace. Let's get back here tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. God bless you.